Horn. And as I just said to our buddy Jim Pfaff, who joins us next, I said, gosh, there's just nothing to talk about. I just don't know. I don't even know where to begin. Jim Pfaff is with us. He is, of course, the head of the Conservative Caucus. The conservativecaucus.org is where you can find him, and at Jim Pfaff on X. Jim, good morning to you.
Good morning. Yeah, what the heck's going on out there? I haven't seen anything.
Please, it's like all we can do is take naps. It's just so boring these days. All right,
I
let's
know.
let's start with the big story, of course, Iran. President Trump putting out a message earlier today, about 3 hours ago, on True Social, saying, "This is it. We don't want to send you back to the Stone Ages," and I'm paraphrasing here, but we will if we have to. The deadline is tonight at 8 p.m. on the East Coast, 5 p.m. out here on the West Coast. And basically, all hell is going to break loose if you don't agree to no nukes and if you don't open the Strait of Hormuz. So, what do you make, Jim? I don't think you mess around with Trump on this. I think he's absolutely serious.
Absolutely. Everyone needs to go back just a couple months now to right before the Venezuela situation. We had ships in the Caribbean near the area, and everyone thought nothing was happening. And now Nicolas Maduro is in prison. Now that obviously is a lower key situation ultimately than this one, but no, don't. I mean, the guy doesn't bluff. What's interesting about Donald Trump? So he will go to the top level of his requirements of what he's trying to negotiate with you or how he's trying to negotiate. And if he does that, he has been very consistent of not bluffing. Like it's not a mere bluff. That is the level that he'll go if you're not willing to back down. But he is trying to find the solution. I think he honestly wants the solution. That said, I also want to take off at the pass. A lot of, I'm sure, Democrats there in the Los Angeles area listening to us right now and online elsewhere saying, yeah, well, he's going to violate international law and violate human rights by destroying the electricity plants. This has been done over and over with Democrat and Republican presidents in war footings all the way through the 20th century until now and a little bit before. So that is not without precedent. And everyone forgets what Barack Obama did to Benghazi. And he was in Libya for 8 months. So all that said, this is a radical regime. I never am excited about us going into war. I've always been resistant to that. But the reality is, this is where we're at right now. No love lost with Iran. And these people are boorish. They design destruction in other people's lives, and I'm going to support Donald Trump's decisions moving forward.
Chime in on this too, because we had a caller earlier today, and I answered the question. Well, I'll tell you how I answer it, and you can tell me if you agree or not. But he said, if we've so degraded Iran, how are they still in control of the Strait of Hormuz? And it's such a small piece of the pie geographically. It's such a small and narrow strait that you can have individuals standing literally on either side. You can have drones that have been operated that they still have. They still have some rocket launchers and stuff that you can just imagine they still have within the country, no matter how degraded they are. And then there's the issue of mines. And truly, the answer is just not a sexy one. The insurance companies, probably more than anything, are the ones who are saying, oh, we don't want to take that risk traveling through if Iran has literally shut things down. So, Jim, how would you answer that question? How are we still fighting? How is Iran still got a stronghold on this strait?
Well, the primary factor for the closing down of the Strait of Hormuz is the last point you made, because the insurers,
the least sexy of them all.
That's right. The insurers insure against loss. But what they're ensuring right now is that they take no losses.
Yes, they don't want any losses.
That factor cannot be underestimated. But the second factor is a practical one. How do you actually take control of the Strait of Hormuz? Those drones, which are going to dwindle away. I mean, Iran has no capability of making them. We got to keep in mind, these are cheap drones by comparison to other military equipment. So something could be ramped up eventually and fairly quickly, but in the short term, not quickly at all. But they do still exist. They are out there to be used, and they are very effective against ships. We've seen it already with a ship or two in the Strait of Hormuz. So that is a very real risk. Insurers don't want any loss at all. You can't defend against those easily with any military unless you have 100,000 men on the ground shutting it down, and we're not doing that right now. So we'll get past that, and the Strait of Hormuz is going to get controlled one way or the other. There's a third reason, though. There's a third factor you didn't mention, but I know you're aware of. Donald Trump is telling other countries, "Hey, it's your turn now. Come,
Get
guard
in
the
there.
strait." And I think he's right to push that. So he's going far enough to meet the military objectives. But frankly, we don't need the oil, as he said. The prices are bad. I get all that, but we don't need the oil. We can get our oil. So he's really telling the international community, get your act straight. And it's one of the fantastic things about that is going to be a result of all this. Donald Trump's resetting the world stage. All these stupid, idiotic, World Economic Forum actors that have been acting so piously and stupidly for a couple of decades or more now are having to take responsibility for themselves, and Donald Trump's actions are requiring it.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it, is to see who comes to the table and has actually been helping us. And isn't it something of note to see that it's Israel and the Arab countries coming all together? No one would have ever thought that. And Europe, nothing. It is silent, and almost worse than nothing. When you look at Spain, who's trying to refuse us from using their air bases and such, when we helped pay for those, when we helped fund them, when our military is there standing with them, it really, as much as this is about Iran, it's also about China and sending a threat to them, but it's also about pointing out and highlighting who our allies are. And we can take that lesson and we find out that we don't have the strongest allies in Europe.
Well, the lessons of history show us that any positive change doesn't last forever, but it can last centuries. So let's lay out what we really have here. The Middle East, for the first time in any of our lifetimes, is potentially going to be a safe area if Iran is successfully shut down. And the Arab states want it. And as you rightly point out, we got the Abraham Accords. Frankly, Saudi Arabia hasn't gone in on the Abraham Accords because of the potential problems, and they're the big guy in the block.
Sure.
But once Iran is gone, I can see them coming in potentially. But nonetheless, they're more positive about Israel right now than they've ever been. Part of that is because they're not just about the oil anymore. They're making investments in things far outside of oil, which means they have to be good actors on the international community. That's the first thing. The second thing is this. Donald Trump has exposed Europe for its weakness and what it is. And everyone was apoplectic when he was threatening to go out of NATO in his first term and demanding that they come up to the plate and pay for things. We have spent $10 trillion over 80 years, estimated. We're spending $200 to $300 billion a year, not including Ukraine, to keep Europe safe. And they do nothing to be helpful to us. That's the second thing. The third thing is China and Russia now know two things. One, where China thought it was economically strong, it's not anymore. The Strait of Hormuz exposes them. They're getting a huge amount of oil from that area, and it ain't coming right now. So they're exposed, but both of those countries are exposed on another area. Even though they have large militaries, and if we were to have military engagement with them, it would be a mass scale and there'd be a lot of loss of life. They know they ain't got nothing like we got.
Yeah.
They got no hope to overcome our military right now. Russia in particular is weak. But China's never had a naval military engagement in their entire history. They have a very large Navy, and it would cause damage, but they don't have the history that we have.
They haven't used it.
And they know they're highly exposed. All three of these areas are massive changes on the world stage that Donald Trump's actions have brought about. And it could be positive in the future for decades or centuries if it plays out right. But we're still watching it play out.
All right, Jim Pfaff is here. You can follow him at Jim Pfaff on social media and get involved. Check out the Conservative Caucus, the conservativecaucus.org. Great to see you. Hope you had a great Easter. And I know we will be checking in with you soon in a couple of weeks. Jim, thanks so much. As we continue, our Trump MAGA Minute happens next as your Tuesday morning answer continues. It's 7:31.